At any rate, this is the ZOTAC Cup. This is the grand finals where we're currently at. And tied up, or not tied up, leading 1-0 at the moment, spawning in the top right corner of the map from Acer. This will be the blue Terran player, MMA. And his opponent to the top left from Team Empire, the red Terran player, Happy. Okay, so I think the first game went as expected as it could have been. We had a pretty good macro game, we had the late game come into play, and MMA was able to edge his way out. The unfortunate thing was, though, it's not like Happy played poorly. Happy made some really nice decisions. He played it right, in my opinion. The downside was he just kind of got out-positioned. Is probably the best way I can describe that. And it sounds so corny and cheesy to say that, but if you've ever played TBT, or if you're a big TBT fan, you know how big and critical positioning can be in this matchup. And well, we got kind of a first-hand point of view. I don't know. I'm losing my brain at this point, guys. I'm sorry. I haven't been up this early to cast. No, let me rephrase that. It's not even about being up early to cast, because as long as I go to bed on time, I can wake up at any hour. 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 5 a.m., not a problem. I just didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so that's really, I was doing a great job holding it together until we got to the finals here, so I do apologize for the slips, guys. At any rate, though, 2 command centers, or 2 orbitals on the way, rather. Ugh. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's no way there'd be 2 command centers on the way. They're both starting factories. Like, how would that be possible? Or one starting a factory. I imagine Happy will be starting his once he's got 100 gas as well. But scouts out his opponent because he went for that Reaper. Of course, his factory's a little bit delayed. Whether the Reaper will pay off or not, we have yet to see. I want to say no, and I only say this because, again, it's freaking Habitation Station, and there's not a lot of places you can really abuse it, unfortunately. But he's going to do the 1 Marine, 1 Reaper, 1 SUV poke that we saw in the past versus Marine Lord. This is really designed to stop a command center from building on the low ground. Like, if MMA was building on the low ground over here, per se, you'd kill the SUV, no problem. But MMA's not really been the one to go for those quicker command centers. He's always prioritized his tech, getting his production up first. And 3 Marines on this ramp are going to be quite deadly to deal with. He's going to throw away 2 SUVs to kill 1.
First blood.
It looks like, with that 1 Reaper trying to get back in there. If he could have killed it, that would have been fantastic. But now there's a Hellion out, and Happy's already done with. Alright, well, Happy's got to now worry about a little bit of a counter harass out of MMA, and this is kind of something he had dealt with Marine Lord. Marine Lord sent very low amounts of Hellions across the map and kind of harassed the natural. This 1 Hellion may actually cancel the SUV building the command center, which would be a huge nuisance. Because Happy, who prioritizes these earlier command centers, is going to be punished for this outright. Reaper in the main, going to chase around the SUVs a little bit, as he will kill 1 for now. Don't know if that kill count will go up or not, but kills the Marines that were chasing him towards the natural base. Happy's actually not able to deal with this Hellion. He's sending another SUV to build this, but it's kind of just to die in all realisticness. 2 Marines and a Hellion do pop out, so we can finally clean this up, but MMA actually just gets the Hellion out alive in the end. So 2 SUVs killed, and the command center delayed for quite a bit of time. Meanwhile, this Reaper has killed, looks like 3 SUVs so far, not too bad. Still on 1 base, though. He's making his natural now, but for MMA, this is not supremely late. I think picking up the SUV building Happy's command center a couple times was a big deal. It does help with this a lot. And it's also allowed him to not really rush into that air tag. I mean, we see him still go with the Banshees and the Cloak, of course, but because MMA knows his opponent's going to be playing defensively and it's already spent money on this. Whoa, I didn't even know MMA already has a Banshee over here. Sorry, my bad, guys. Because of this, MMA is actually in a really good spot. He's trying to get that turret up. Scan does go down, but there's not enough Marines to really chase this. Viking coming through here. This Banshee's got 5 kills on it so far. No! Doesn't quite stealth juke those last 2 hits, but with 2 health does live. Gotta be careful, the turret here is gonna fish it off, though. At any rate, the air tech about rushing I was talking about before is like normally when you have, say, the Vikings and the Ravens and that super defensive posture, but Happy can't afford that because he doesn't have the gas, and MMA doesn't need to invest into it because he knows Happy can't go aggressive. So, able to use these Banshees aggressively without repercussions is a really nice luxury in StarCraft 2 you're not often afforded. Command Center can almost scan again, but it's almost worthwhile because if he scans, that's one less mule. And Happy's already lost a couple workers at this point. If he can't keep muling, he'll be in some trouble. But okay, forces the scan out. Banshee just walks away though. Goes back into the scan though. What? MMA, you were safe. Why would you do that? Why would you? Okay, whatever. This is going to prompt a drop to go off as the response to this. However, after having picked everything up, he's left with almost nothing left at home to defend against another Banshee. That being said, MMA's got Hellions, he's got Marines. You can actually deal with the drop that's coming to Happy. This isn't going to be Happy's claim to fame, so to speak. SCV's rushing to repair and no scan energy available, so this Banshee is just going to kill the SCVs. He'll kill the reactor maybe. And we see him microing around, but he doesn't know that there's no scans available just yet. If he can pick up this reactor, guys, it's huge. It's huge. Reactor takes so long to build, and Marine production is so critical to the way Happy's opened this up, but flying out of there does let it burn down. The drop from Happy is still not happening while this is going on. That's kind of keeping an eye on that. And the Banshee will be killed here in the end. So, Happy taking a little bits of damage here and there. Nothing too critical. A couple SCVs going to die for MMA. Cleaned up. MMA sticking to a mech for TVT, guys. Must be good. Must be good. Okay, while Happy looks like he's also going to be sticking on mech. He did go for that engineering bay, but I think that's strictly for turrets. It's a little bit confused as to why he's swapping up to bio all of a sudden. But Drop's actually getting some pretty effective kills off here. MMA could land his Vikings to clean this up, but he's going to rely on the Hellions instead. Lost a couple Hellions of his own. Not a big deal. Oops, observer chat. There we go. As he comes across the map, though, MMA is limited on what he can do. He doesn't have his own tanks up. He doesn't have a Banshee up. He's got no way to really... Well, he's got a Banshee, sorry, my mistake. But he's got no way to really break that tank, allowing the Hellions to get to the top of the ramp. With the wall off, Happy's actually pretty secure. Trying to break it nonetheless. Picks up a couple SCVs building things, but doesn't have the Viking count to win the air battle, and doesn't have the army to break through this wall. So quite unfortunate in that regard, but he kills all the SCVs building, so he's got that going for him. A lot of these supply depots are like 30 out of 30, 29 out of 30. Kind of irritating, but he'll finish these up. Back at home though, MMA's taking a third base while he does this. Not going for the gold, but kind of makes sense. You don't really, again, need minerals as much as if you did if you were playing bio, so no priority on that gold base. Let's take a look at the units while we wait here. I'm sorry, it's just not... I love TVT, but the problem is it's one of those matches that you gotta really wait for it to get rocking or rolling before it gets exciting. The build up to it, like PvP, is kind of eh. But okay, Air Force moving out. He's got 3 Vikings to, I guess, escort him across the map. But the medevac turns around here. 5 Vikings though from MMA are going to pick off these Vikings, no problem. Happy going to get cleaned up entirely. Not even going to get 1 Viking in retaliation. That sucks. That's an overwhelming amount of air to lose towards, but honestly, Happy's got no way to deal with it. It's not like he's got stimmed Marines ready to go with a ton of tech behind them either. They're on the way. He's not playing mech, but this is such a late stim pack. To start stim pack 13.5 minutes into the game, knowing full well you're not going to have that for almost 2-3 minutes, that's really rough to deal with. But as long as MMA doesn't push for the next 2 or 3 minutes, he's actually going to be fine to get away with this. If he can transition into bio, that will work for him, because MMA is building and preparing for mech, and I think that's specifically why Happy's doing this. But again, it's such a late transition, I don't know if he'll have the time for it. MMA is certainly not going to have an army to push with, but I'm talking about like in any other scenario, this is a risky move. In this one, I think it was a calculated, intelligent choice out of Empire Happy. But a couple of Hellions get dropped in the main, and looks like, yep, with Blue Flame, gonna start picking off some of these SCVs. Medevacs might be best off picking up the SCVs, just so the Hellions can't shoot them anymore, but couple Marauders gonna try and clean this up. However, medevac will escape. Woo! MMA can be quite annoying. Now, as far as army supply goes, again, it's really not that big of a difference, but in TVT, positioning becomes key above all else. They do both have level 1 weapons finished up here as well. Hellions gonna pick up that SCV again, such a annoying thing to have to deal with. Viking goes down for free because it's trying to shoot the medevac. That's unfortunate. Happy's already lacking in any sort of air value. He's not going to be able to produce much more to deal with this. Big push coming out of MMA, but realizes, wait a minute, those are sieged up tanks. I should not be here. So pulls on back out of there for the time being. Still on 3 bases. 4th one on the way. He's looking pretty good though, back at home, compared to that of Happy, who is still locked into his natural base. Now it looks like he has picked up a little bit. He's going to try and go around the map, but these medevacs have 10 health each. This is such a risky gambit. To lose 2 medevacs full of units, all it's going to take is 1 or 2 Viking volleys, and Kaputskis. Well, I don't know if he saw that drop his barracks or not, but coming on home for a moment there. Well, that's not going to be enough to deal with this initially. MMA will have to fully retreat his army if he wants to save his base from this. This is a lot of Marines and Marauders to get out, though. As he starts picking off the medevacs, they become less and less scary, sure, but this is a force to be reckoned with. And Happy says, I'm here, deal with me. Picks off a factory, almost gets another one. Siege tank, 1 siege tank at the bottom of the ramp trying to clean this up. Let's get these Vikings land. They should finally fully clean this up. So production in the end not really harmed too much by Happy. And that was a big throwaway, but he evens up the army supply at the least. Gets a factory. So not a total loss by any means, but not a great victory either. Pushing towards the south with Marauders as well as a couple tanks coupled up. This 4th command center, which was kind of bold to take in the first place, will be forced to retreat. Granted, there's almost no anti-air here, just a small handful of Marines, so running away from this shouldn't be a problem. And looks like Happy's looking to push in here. This is a really risky move. He's got to be careful. Scans going down to look for tanks on both sides. Oh, I'm sorry guys, one second, stroke my eyes. Okay. Slap myself, wake the hell up. Yeah, more scans coming down. Just looking for safe places to engage, looking for good positions to take. It's really difficult to do as a Terran player. Nice snipe on that watchtower. It's a very expensive building to lose. Or sorry, the sensor tower rather, but it's a huge advantage to have as well. So Happy takes that away from MMA. People in chat saying if your Rift King is fading. Yep, feels like that. I'm just so tired. Oh my god, I didn't think I'd be this sleepy. Anyways, MMA got a planetary fortress down here. It's going to make it so unless there's tanks, there's no way to really break in. Bio's not going to cut it, so it's a really nice choice to have done that instead of an orbital command center. We do have a pretty big lift up, though. This is 6 medevacs full of units, guys. There's 4 turrets and 2 Vikings. This might just be a little too much. 1 medevac goes down. 2 medevacs goes down. And looks like the siege tanks do get on siege. Not a lot of anti-air left with this, though, so it cleans up with the Vikings. If he cleans this up, he could... Well, actually can't land. If he lands, the Marauders will tear the Vikings apart, combined with the siege tanks, but... MMA siege tanks walking up top at the top of this ramp. There's a lot of them, but it choked out pretty hard and in a bad way. No siege mode going down at all. Looks like, well, looks like Happy gets cleaned up again. Does a decent amount of damage with that drop. It's weird to consider because he kind of sacrifices everything to make it happen. His resources lost doesn't look too great either, but still, he keeps MMA from really spiraling out of control. If MMA hits max, he's going to push, and Happy kind of knows there's a timer on that one as well. So the more harass you can do them around the map, you might not be multitasking by dropping in 3 different bases at the same time, but if you get your opponent off guard, you'll be pretty good. Mech is really slow to respond to things. Planetary Fortress should be safe though, and I think he knows this too. Wrapping a couple Marines and Marauders through here might not be too bad either. Try and pick up some of the workers mining, but in full retreat from this army does pick up a large portion of it. Which way these medevacs go, and they gotta be careful. Vikings in hot pursuit. Boost still on cooldown for another 5 seconds. He's losing cargoes full of units. It's really unfortunate. Happy cannot drop that 4th base. It's worth noting again, guys. That's a planetary fortress. He cannot drop that base towards the south. He's got 2 medevacs trying to drop on top of the tanks here in the middle of the map, but they're going to be picked off by a combination of turrets and Vikings. Even if he does pick up these tanks, there's still Hellbats behind. There's still the production behind this. It's so weird. It is so weird to watch Happy trying to break this the way he is, because I think he knows better, but he also thinks he's desperate at this point. Command center is lifted, base is under siege, and this is not looking good for Happy as MMA starts to advance forward. A couple Hellbats on the ground, kind of meandering awkwardly, but they do get picked off. Happy doesn't really have a lot to defend against this, sadly. He's got some SCVs transferring to the gold, and I guess that's the base he's going to try and take. But this game is so heavily in the favor of MMA at this point. Double the army supply, double the worker supply. His tech is looking phenomenal. MMA is looking to make a 2-0 start here in just a moment if Happy can't turn something around. Now, I say in a moment, but realistically, this game isn't over yet. It's still looking worse and worse as it goes on, as Happy doesn't have a tank count anymore. He keeps losing units stuck inside of these medevacs. And as long as MMA prevents drops from coming down, he should be okay. I mean, those 3 turrets he had there were kind of critical too. These clumped up ones here, they look like a waste of money, but if they pick up a medevac before it drops off, then all of a sudden you paid for them. But last couple of medevacs will be picked off. Stimming no longer really an option. Tanks pushing forward once again. Good game is going to be called, and MMA will take game number 2 in this best of 5 finale.